Welcome to the special installment of the Train Vicar. This video won't be about railways, but rather it'll be about buses and trams. And I won't include a reflection in it, rather the video will be my contribution to a point of discussion in Christchurch at the moment. The Greater Christchurch Partnership has proposed a mass transit system for Christchurch. They've had several business cases, they looked at the route and are now in the process of designating the route and even looking at making property purchases. The MRT will run from Belfast to the city centre and from there through Riccarton to Hornby. What hasn't been decided yet is the mode. They've been looking at buses, possibly high-capacity buses, or at trams. And of course, at the moment, there's also discussion about trackless trams. So these are somewhat fancy high-capacity buses with some disadvantages and some advantages. When we lived in Bern in Switzerland last year, I regularly took a high-capacity bus and also sometimes went on trams there. And so I thought I'll discuss some of my experience and show how that might apply in Christchurch as well. The double articulated buses from the bus manufacturer Hess run every 6 minutes for most of the day. These buses apparently can carry up to 224 passengers, and a few times it actually felt like that they were that full. They are 24 meters long. They can clearly carry a significant number of passengers on a route. The new Tramlink trams in Bern offer space for up to 260 passengers and are 42.7 meters long. They also operate every 6 minutes for most of the day on many lines. The number of passengers that can be carried on a certain corridor is slightly higher on trams, but clearly the buses are not that far behind in capacity, and they need less road space, particularly lengthwise, that is, the buses. The buses may even have a more efficient space utilization, but they certainly feel a lot more crammed, even if they are just regularly full. By being longer, trams just feel so much more spacious inside, even if they are full. While trams are also otherwise better as a passenger, trams in Bern are certainly smoother than buses, even though Swiss buses run a lot smoother than New Zealand buses due to the better roads, the better vehicles, and the better driving style. With buses, you almost get an up and down movement that's just not there with trams on good tracks. And that's also happening if buses travel on totally separate busways, I know, not from Bern, but otherwise. The comfort levels on a tram are just better, even if the bus is fully electric and on a relatively smooth road. Trams are distinct from general road traffic in a passenger perception sense. You know where the tram goes, you know that it symbolizes reliable and distinct public service. People are more likely to take pride in a tram system than a bus system, even when those buses are quite fancy. This perception factor is important and should not be discounted. Both buses and trams have some priority measures at intersections in Bern. At times they share the road space with cars, at other times they are separate. Buses quite often use shoulder bus lanes on roads, while tram tracks are more often to one side of the road, clearly separated from general traffic. Importantly, in Bern, bus lanes and tram sections continue right to the intersection and do not stop short of it. This mixed traffic is also less of an issue in a city like Bern, where there are not that many cars in the central city. After all, here everything is planned around public transport. Also, as has been shown internationally, the better the public transport, the less congested general traffic is. In Bern there are also a few modal filters, which mean that cars need to go a more circuitous route than public transport. All that means that trams and buses do not often get stuck in general traffic, even when they share the road space with cars. In Christchurch that would be different. Here there's significant congestion on many roads at some times of the day, even in central city roads, and drivers complain if they are disadvantaged by bus lanes. The bus lanes in Christchurch often stop short before intersections, so that buses are delayed exactly at the points where they should be given priority. All this means that the mixed traffic running of trams or buses would not be as feasible in Christchurch. Any new mass rapid transit will have to have largely separate tracks or corridors from general traffic. Keeping public transport separate from general traffic is slightly easier with trams than with buses. Trams normally do not require quite that width, and because they run on rails, they're also more clearly a different mode, so that it's less likely that there are design compromises and shortcuts. When we were in Bern, a tram route close to our house did not operate into the city centre because a bridge had to be closed for maintenance for several months. The tram route was split in two, with buses providing a connection. People could also walk across the bridge and in this way connect to the tram. Yes, trams are more affected if there's a blockage on the route. They cannot easily go around obstacles. The buses are more flexible, even high-capacity buses. And so any tram city either needs a very good tram network where it can deviate, or it also needs buses to support that. That feature of trams may also be an important consideration in Christchurch, where there are no other tram lines that could be used if part of the tram line is out. In addition, New Zealand has more earthquakes, so yes, here in New Zealand it's good to have some flexibility, and that's a disadvantage of trams. However, being bound to one route also has advantages. It gives permanence and certainty. You would notice that most older cities are built along tram corridors. People had the confidence to build alongside those corridors because they knew that the line would not move. So the tram's lack of flexibility is also an advantage. If you had a highly engineered busway, it would have a similar permanence. Also, tram tracks generally last longer if they are well maintained and can be fixed quicker. A section of track can be replaced in a night. While earthquakes may affect tram tracks, the Kaikoura earthquake also showed that rail-based infrastructure can be rehabilitated quicker than roads. Buses are more flexible, but trams can get up back to full capacity quicker. Both trams and buses in Bern use overhead catenary for energy. The buses are clearly trolley buses. The buses do have a battery on board so that they can travel along sections of the route without being connected to the wires. The trams always are connected to the wires, but trams have been built in other cities that can be off the wire for some time, either through batteries or by induction charging through an energy supply along the ground in the road. Well, that's a bit more expensive. I'll briefly talk about trackless trams. We did not experience them in Switzerland, but they are in essence guided high-capacity buses. As such, they have a few advantages over buses. They can be longer, they don't need as much width, they are predictable, they can stop more precisely at a platform to allow for level boarding. They also have some disadvantages in comparison with buses. They cannot go around tighter curves and cannot be used along all roads in an emergency. They require a strengthened roadbed or even tracks that are just as expensive as tram tracks and more difficult to maintain. They are often proprietary, so that different suppliers can't be used. When compared to real trams, these trackless trams also have some advantages. They are more flexible and often can go around temporary obstacles. The full infrastructure may not need to be built immediately, lowering initial capital costs, though this is often offset by higher maintenance costs. They are more likely to be battery operated and so far do not require overhead wires. They have better grip in slippery conditions. They also have a few disadvantages. The tracks are more difficult to maintain. They are not as comfortable ride-wise. They are not as energy efficient. And they are often proprietary, locking in one supplier. From a passenger experience perspective, real trams, I think, are the way to go. They are more expensive, particularly initially, but they too provide the best service. It's a more do it once, do it right approach. I think non-proprietary high-capacity buses would be my second pick, and I certainly thought that the bus service in Bern was quite good. I'm not so sure about trackless trams. In trying to be everything, they are probably not the greatest idea, but I think they're better than having no good high-capacity transport at all.